Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is a profile on Coach Ed Martin. And we've entitled this a profile on Ed Martin and the athletic enterprise, Coach. And I want you to know that what we're concerned about really is to get some information about you and the athletic enterprise from the point of view of having been involved in both collegiate athletics as well as professional athletics and whatnot. And so to sort of do it from that perspective, and I guess really to start off by having you to give us some information about your background and your education and some of the things that were important in terms of your earlier experiences.
Well, first I was born in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I think that's where it all started as far as athletics. Athletics had been a vehicle to get rid of some other things that weren't as desirable. At a young age, I started participating, and at the end of my teens, I became an orphan. And the late Howard C. Gentry, I can never say enough about him, introduced to me with the idea of going to college. I had no idea about going to college, and Howard Gentry was the type of guy, he didn't ask you to go, he told you what you were going to do. So he got me into college, and without my athletic skills, I don't know what would have happened to me. It was a vehicle to get an education.
And so you're from Allentown, Pennsylvania, and you came to Tennessee State University.
No, I went to North Carolina A&T. He was
Tell
coaching
us about
there.
Okay.
He was coaching there, and I was very fortunate to run into great people. All throughout my athletic career and my adulthood, I had great role models, people who directed me and motivated me and got me moving in the right direction. So I've been very fortunate. And like I say, without athletics, I played baseball and basketball there, and Coach Gentry was my baseball coach. A lot of people don't know that he coached baseball, and really his first year was my first year, and we were very fortunate we won a championship. So
both of you went to North Carolina together,
right,
he as a coach.
And Mrs. Gentry was teaching physical education, and she wasn't Mrs. Gentry then. He met his wife there, so I go way back with Coach Gentry.
Well, you know, Coach, I think that you've been involved in the athletic enterprise from the point of view of a teacher as well as a participant. And let's talk about some of the earlier things that perhaps many of our viewers might not know this morning about Ed Martin. I think you've already indicated that your hometown is Allentown, Pennsylvania, and that you've been involved with athletics since you first met. Since then. And so let's talk about some of that early involvement.
Well, like I say, I participated in baseball and basketball at North Carolina A&T, and I had great role models. And I think the great role models today can and should be coaches. And I was very fortunate in that area. And I participated in, like I had 4 glorious years of participation in those 2 particular sports. And upon graduation, I went into the black leagues, black baseball leagues.
Black baseball,
Yeah, and I played with one of the Globetrotter teams, the Harlem Clowns.
So you remember the old so-called Negro Leagues?
That's
you were
right.
a member of
I was a member of that. After we had great baseball teams at A&T, and the opportunity came for me to keep playing baseball, and I moved into it. As far as basketball, the NBA was not open to brothers at that time, so I played with one of the barnstorming exhibition teams.
Now, what was the team that you played with originally?
New York Clowns.
The New York Clowns?
In basketball, and Philadelphia Stars in baseball.
Now, what about the Philadelphia Stars? What can you tell us in terms?
Great talent. People missed the opportunity to see some great baseball players in that league. And I played under a gentleman by the name of Oscar Charleston, who's now in the Hall of Fame. He was my manager, so learned a lot about baseball, and most of all, I learned a lot about people and life, and those things started when I ran into Gentry. Athletics have opened so many doors of knowledge to me.
And so you look at it even today as a great opportunity for young people to become involved in the athletic enterprise.
There's so many opportunities for you, and it's a great way to learn about life. You know, the game is life, and to learn that is very important.
Now, I think most people associate you, Coach Martin, with basketball, much more so than baseball.
Well, a lot of people were surprised to find out I played professional baseball. And as far as baseball, again, I coached baseball at South Carolina State for 13 years.
Before coming to Tennessee State?
Yeah, before. I was coaching baseball and basketball. And I have some football coaching background, too.
And so you've been involved in all aspects, three sports, baseball, football, as well as basketball, and you've had an opportunity. Well, what are some of the things that you can say in terms of the memorance that you have coming out of having dealt with all three of those sports? So what are some of the things?
Well, you learn how to win. You learn people skills. And you learn that inspiration and things like that are very important. And after I finished playing professional baseball, I started coaching in high school at Avery High School in Charleston, South Carolina. Again, I was very fortunate. I won a couple state championships in basketball, and I moved from there to South Carolina State. And again, I ran into a great person who was the athletic director, Roy D. Moore.
Okay.
And as a young coach, he nurtured me and gave me opportunity. And I continued to grow.
Now, when did you come to Nashville, Coach, and under what conditions did
1968. I was 13 years at South Carolina State, and the opportunity came to come to Nashville, and my athletic director, again, I was reunited with Coach Gentry. So I jumped at it. At that time, Tennessee State was the greatest job in the country for a black coach. And everybody would jump for joy to get an opportunity, so I jumped at it.
And you came directly as a basketball coach?
Yeah,
as a
just
men's
basketball
coach.
Under Coach Gentry.
And of course, you've got many championships and many credits.
Well, I had great players. And kids like Ted McClain, who's still here in Nashville.
Let's talk about some of those players, because I think that you sent them off to the big leagues, Coach, at a time when not many were going to the big leagues.
Well, they had talent, and they were great people to coach. Ted McClain, who's probably the finest basketball player to ever come out of Nashville. Ted Hound Dog McClain, and then I had other guys like Truck Robinson out of Jacksonville, and they all had, and Lloyd and all of those, the three of them had great pro careers. So I had some great teams.
And of course, Coach, as being involved with young men at this level and sending them where you sent them, what are some of the things that you were able to impart to them, and some of the things that they might have left with you in terms of who they were?
They were good people, and one thing I'll say at Tennessee State, under the leadership of Coach Gentry, we had good people. And good people make good players, and good players make good teams. Our guys had pride, and they stood for the right things. They had goals, and they tried to achieve their goals. And it wasn't only athletics, but academics too.
Life was much more than just athletics.
Well, see, right now you have only about 1% going into the NBA. So you have to have other attributes. And when people come to see these prospects, like I say, right now I'm scouting for the NBA, you look under their clothing and find out what kind of makeup they have, what kind of persons they are.
As an NBA scout, Coach, what are some of the things that you look for? Because and we say that from this perspective, that there are so many good athletes out there today, basketball, in all sports, but especially in basketball. I mean, what are some of the things that you could tell us this morning that you look for when you're looking a candidate over, and some things that our young people who do have those aspirations, might try to...
Well, the first thing and most important thing, not only in basketball, but in life, people look at your attitude. If I can pass anything along to young people, attitude, how you react. And that's one of the first things I look at. You have all the skills in the world. If you don't have the proper attitude, you will not be coachable and you will not succeed. You can contaminate with a bad attitude.
So it's the attitude.
Contamination. I think that's one of the greatest skills a person can bring. You have attitude, we can go to work. If you don't have attitude, we can't even start to work.
So all the skills in the world won't make up for
attitude. Same thing in any endeavor in life. I think you're looking for a job, and you go in, you're being interviewed, display a proper attitude, and you may get an opportunity. And you have to take care of yourself. You have to live the right life.
Okay, very good.
Your total carriage. When I go to scout a potential, I watch him, how he reacts to a bad call by an official.
Okay.
How he reacts to a teammate who makes a mistake. How he reacts when he's ahead, and how he reacts when he's behind.
So all of these things are part of how you see the possibilities of how that young man might fit into...
Well, you have to know how to win, you have to know how to lose. You have to be able to get along with people. You must have people skills, because you're part of a team. You're just one link, and everybody must be a contributing link to have success.
And of course, when you say that you scout for the NBA, is there a specific team that you generally work with, or is there?
I work for the league. There's a guy by the name of Marty Blake out of Atlanta.
Talk to us about how
Marty
that's done.
Blake is the director of scouting for the NBA.
Okay.
At one time, I scouted for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they wanted me to give up my job at Vanderbilt and move to Minnesota. And at this late stage in my life, I'm not ready for relocation. So I work with Marty, and we go around, and there are certain designated people that they want us to look at, and then we'll evaluate those people and send evaluation forms in.
And that is done, and now, is that for the purpose of the NBA, or is that for the purpose of the coaches?
NBA, no, NBA prospects. So when they get ready for the draft, and like in the NBA right now, you only have 2 drafts, 2 draft choices, so you cannot make any mistakes.
Okay.
And we try to eliminate the opportunity to make a mistake.
And so all of this is done really by the league in order to assist.
Each team has scouts too.
Okay.
But we enforce. Say like Miami will scout a guy, they want another opinion. We're the other opinion.
And of course, it's that information that they'll put in.
It's passed on. Marty Blake will send that to all the teams in the league.
And they'll evaluate that information.
They'll evaluate that with what they have, and then they'll draw conclusions.
Well, have you been fortunate enough to have any of the persons that you've evaluated selected?
Well, we know who the good ones are.
Okay.
And if you're a suspect, we don't get you. And every once in a while, somebody will come out of the blue. But so many have gone up. Everybody know, like the top players, like the big youngster down there at Arkansas, Ray Charles, can see he can play. So you just evaluate him, and then use your evaluation to measure whether he's going to be your first, or a second, or whatever.
Well, let's talk about it, because I think a lot of you people might not understand exactly what is meant by these draft choices.
Well, you only have 2.
Okay. Now, what does that mean when you say a draft choice?
You're right to negotiate with a player, and you only have 2 choices. You can pick 2, and then you have his sole rights.
So each team can pick 2 players. 2 players.
Yeah. Now, sometimes with trades and things like that, you may trade and pick up a draft choice. But initially, you can trade your choices for whatever. But you only have 2 choices. Very delicate, very sensitive, and you cannot make mistakes because, like I say, you only have 2 choices.
Sometimes, Coach, we hear of